Nothing but empty desert mountains. But somewhere beneath them, satellite analysts found something that shouldn't exist. Reinforced tunnel entrances, cut directly into solid rock leading to facilities that appear on no public map, no official record. Inside, assembly lines producing thousands of low-cost attack drones, hundreds of meters underground, built to survive an airstrike. These same drones have already changed how modern wars are fought over Ukraine, over the Gulf, over Iran itself. So how do you hide an aircraft factory inside a mountain and keep it running, even under attack? This is the secret evolution of Iran's underground drone program. HESA is Iran's Zagros mountain range, thousands of kilometers of remote, rugged terrain, running across the western part of the country. Iran's drone program traces back to the 1980s, when the Iran-Iraq War and international arms embargoes forced the country to start building its own aircraft from almost nothing. One known production site sits in Isfahan, tied to Shahed Aviation Industries, a facility satellite analysts have tracked for years. Compare images taken months apart, and new rooftops appear where there weren't any before, evidence of a facility that keeps growing. West of Shiraz, the Alma Research Center says satellite data reveals something else entirely. A large facility built directly into the surrounding hills. A reinforced entrance, cut straight into the rock, nothing about it visible from a normal road or a normal map. North of the city of Qom, other open-source imagery points to a sprawling complex reportedly used for drone training and development. From ground level, there's often nothing at all to see, just gravel, distance, and one unmarked gate. By 2026, new reporting suggested Iran was actively rebuilding parts of its missile and drone infrastructure after earlier strikes. Some of that imagery reportedly showed trucks and bulldozers clearing rubble from blocked tunnel entrances, restoring access to what was underneath. The logic is simple. A surface building falls to a single strike. A facility buried in solid rock barely notices one. Analysts note that reaching a facility built this deep would likely require specialized, high-powered bunker-penetrating weapons. At dusk, these mountains give away nothing. That's exactly the point. But strip away the rock, even just conceptually, and a very different picture starts to form. This is what such a facility could plausibly look like inside, based on general open-source descriptions, not a confirmed architectural plan. Public reporting on hardened Iranian facilities generally describes depths of hundreds of meters below the surface. Just past the entrance, a staging level would handle incoming vehicles, equipment, and materials. Deeper in, a corridor leads toward the real center of the operation. The assembly hall, long benches, component racks, workers moving through a practiced routine that could just as easily belong to any industrial plant if you didn't know what it was building. Nose cones, wing sections, fuselage panels, waiting their turn on the line. Small engines, fitted by hand into narrow rear compartments, the same basic process you'd find in any small aircraft workshop, just built for a very different purpose. Below that, a storage level, finished units under cover, row after row, disappearing into the dark at the edge of the light. A ventilation shaft runs straight up to the surface, keeping air moving through every level below. At the threshold, a reinforced blast door designed to seal the whole facility off in the event of an attack. Power comes from an on-site generator system. Out here, there's no grid to plug into. Above ground, the access road is often deliberately unremarkable, sometimes concealed further, with camouflage netting over the most sensitive stretches. Put all three levels together, connected top to bottom, and you get something close to a self-contained industrial town, built entirely out of sight. And from the surface, in daylight, none of it is visible at all. This almost certainly isn't one facility. Reporting suggests a dispersed network, scattered across the country. Decades of international sanctions pushed Iran toward near-total self-sufficiency in weapons production, drones included. None of this is entirely new thinking. Militaries have built hardened underground facilities since the Cold War. This is simply a modern continuation of that same instinct. Conceptually, the production cycle is simple materials in one tunnel, finished drones out another. Some reporting specifically describes a separate loading tunnel, distinct from the main entrance, dedicated to moving completed units out. That same reporting describes structures resembling launch silos at the site, a facility that may serve both a production and a launch role. With the facility explained, the obvious next question is what, exactly, is being built inside it. This is an early Iranian reconnaissance drone from the 1980s and 90s, simple, propeller-driven, built to observe, not to strike. The Mohajer series that followed added a camera payload and a larger frame a step forward, but still fundamentally a set of eyes in the sky. Today's HESA shahed is something else entirely, a delta-wing loitering munition, roughly 5 meters long, built for one purpose. 3 generations, 3 completely different machines, the shift from observation to attack, laid out side by side. A small piston engine drives a rear propeller, a simple, publicly documented configuration, behind an otherwise unremarkable-looking aircraft. Forward, the payload section publicly estimated at somewhere between 30 and 50 kilograms. Early Iranian drones had limited range. Newer, long-range variants, by comparison, are publicly reported to reach dramatically farther. Much of their battlefield impact comes down to cost. These drones are widely reported to be far cheaper than the cruise missiles they're often compared to. Iran has also faced long-standing claims that some designs came from reverse engineering, captured foreign aircraft. Wreckage recovered in conflict zones has reportedly contained commercial parts from several different countries, an ongoing question about global supply chains. Perhaps the most significant development, Iran's help in getting Russia's own domestic production up and running. That effort centers on the Yelabuga Special Economic Zone in Tatarstan, a site satellite analysts have tracked closely since 2022. In Russian service, the design was renamed the Jeransame shape, produced locally, with continued Iranian input. Since then, these drones have become a defining feature of modern conflict, launched in waves against targets across active war zones. For defenders, the math is brutal. Expensive interceptor missiles, used to shoot down some of the cheapest weapons in modern warfare. Newer, publicly reported jet-powered variants have reportedly pushed both speed and range well beyond the original design. In response, Western militaries have begun developing their own low-cost analogs after studying these designs firsthand. 4 decades of evolution, condensed into a single line from a simple observer to a mass-produced, long-range attack weapon. Somewhere inside a facility like this one, that evolution is still ongoing, one airframe at a time. To understand what this actually looks like, we turn to the imagery and footage gathered over the years by journalists and open-source analysts. Footage circulating from the region has shown drones on launch rails in open desert settings, a familiar visual signature of this program by now. Night vision imagery adds a different layer, the same equipment, seen through the lens most associated with covert operations. Thermal imaging reveals something footage alone can't: the heat signature of an active engine, glowing against a cold night sky. Other footage has shown workers inside brightly lit facilities, handling components for aircraft that will eventually leave through those same tunnels. These drones have also appeared publicly displayed on mobile launchers during military parades and official broadcasts. Western officials have repeatedly described this program as a significant proliferation concern on the international stage. In one striking moment, a recovered airframe was displayed inside the U.S. Congress by an advocacy group highlighting the issue. All of this has unfolded alongside separate, ongoing diplomatic talks over Iran's broader nuclear and regional security posture. So how do analysts actually find sites like this in the first place? Often it starts with a satellite image and a sharp eye for anomalies. One especially telling clue: melted snow on specific rooftops, while every surrounding building stays fully covered, a sign of heat and therefore activity underneath. After one reported strike attempt, analysts compared before and after images and found no clear evidence of significant confirmed damage. By 2026, new imagery pointed to active rebuilding access being restored to underground storage damaged in prior strikes. As dusk falls over a facility like this, faint lights blink along a distant fence line, a quiet reminder of what's hidden just beyond it. Reporting suggests this isn't one facility, but a dispersed network, scattered across mountainous and desert regions throughout the country. The Alma Research Center specifically cites a reported range of up to 2,000 kilometers for drones associated with the site near Shiraz. On a map, a range like that covers a striking share of the surrounding region, though the exact list of potential targets remains speculation, not confirmed fact. Reporting also describes a widening export network, with drone technology reportedly reaching partners well beyond Iran's own borders. That expansion has drawn public concern from multiple governments, several of which have introduced their own policy responses. The core economic strategy is simple: keep the cost per unit low and make up for it with sheer production volume. Analysts describe this as a saturation approach, overwhelming air defenses with more incoming threats than they can realistically stop. It's worth noting these facilities have themselves come under attack in past regional conflicts, not just been a source of attacks. 2026 reporting specifically pointed to rebuilding activity near Tabriz and Khomeini, at sites tied to underground missile and drone storage. Zoom out further, and concern about this program stretches across the wider Gulf region and beyond. To summarize the numbers, roughly 5 meters long, a payload estimated between 30 and 50 kilograms, and a range that's expanded dramatically across 4 decades. And with that picture in view, we return to exactly where this story began. 3 things stand out from everything we've covered: successful concealment, disciplined mass production, and a rapidly expanding global reach. These facilities are, at once, a genuine engineering achievement under extreme constraints and a working part of an active, ongoing conflict. Seen again in daylight, these mountains still look completely unremarkable. That was always the intention. One more time, the core numbers, for anyone who wants the plain facts without the framing. Somewhere along a perimeter like this, the program remains under constant watch from analysts, from rival governments, and from the public. Is this an engineering achievement, or the next chapter in a dangerous regional arms race? That's a question worth sitting with. The facility fades from view one final time, sealed back into the mountain it was built beneath. Zoom out far enough, and this becomes one part of a much larger global trend: low-cost drone warfare spreading well beyond any single country's program. Somewhere tonight, another drone climbs into a dark sky, continuing a story that's been evolving for more than 4 decades. This is the exact same image we opened with, except now, you understand exactly what it's been hiding all along.